The city lights below my office window always looked like spilled gold, beautiful, distant, and untouchable. I used to feel the same way about peace. But today, peace was a luxury I couldn't afford. I smoothed the sleeve of my ivory silk blouse, trying to steady my breath. Thursdays were usually calm: client meetings, review sessions, emails. Nothing out of the ordinary. But the moment my phone buzzed on my desk, slicing through the quiet, something inside me tightened. Unknown caller. I froze. Unknown numbers don't scare people with clean pasts. But mine, my past had teeth. I let the phone ring once, twice, my pulse counting with it. When I finally answered, a harsh male voice spilled into the room. Ava Mitchell? Yes. This is St. John's Hospital. We have a patient requesting you. His condition is critical. My fingers went cold. The room felt smaller. My heartbeat pounded against my ribs like it wanted to escape. Who? I whispered, even though I already knew. A pause. A heavy pause. Your father, Daniel Mitchell. I didn't sit down. I couldn't. It felt like the ground had cracked open beneath me. The same man who left me at 6 years old in foster care so he could chase a glamorous life, money, parties, women, everything except me, was now lying in a hospital bed asking for me. I took a slow breath, tasting a twist of bitterness and something else, something dangerously close to irony. His life was in my hands. I was 6 the day my world split open. People think foster care starts with paperwork, signatures, social workers. But really, it starts with a feeling. The feeling of a tiny hand slipping out of a parent's grasp, and that parent not reaching back. I remember standing on the cracked front porch of our old apartment in Phoenix. The summer heat burned the bottoms of my feet through my sandals. My father stood beside a black Cadillac I had never seen before, 2 suitcase zippers shining like they were proud to leave with him.
He wasn't even looking at me.
Dad. My voice wobbled, but I tried to sound grown-up. Where are we going? He sighed, annoyed, like I was some interruption. Ava, honey, you'll stay with someone for a little while. I need time. I have opportunities now. Opportunities. A 6-year-old doesn't understand the word, but she understands the tone. He kept checking his watch, kept glancing at the tall, glamorous woman waiting in the passenger seat, his new life. Her red lipstick was perfect, not a smudge. She didn't look at me once. My throat tightened. But you said we'd go get ice cream today. He blinked. Just once. And that was the only flicker of guilt I ever saw on him. There'll be other days, he muttered. Be good, okay? Be good. As if goodness could keep a family together. The social worker, Ms. Reynolds, stepped out of her car. A warm-faced woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a silver bracelet that jingled when she moved. She crouched to my level. Ava, sweetheart, she said softly, how about you come with me? I brought strawberry gummies. Strawberry gummies. That was the symbolic thing I'd remember forever. A tiny red packet that smelled like comfort and safety in a world that suddenly didn't want me. I looked back at my father. He didn't hug me. He didn't kneel. He didn't even say goodbye. He just got into the Cadillac and drove off, his new life glinting in the sun like a promise he didn't make to me. Ms. Reynolds held my hand the whole drive, her bracelet chiming like a lullaby. My hands trembled against hers. That night, in the foster home she placed me in, she gave me the bracelet. Whenever you feel alone, she whispered, fastening it around my wrist. Remember this. The world didn't choose you, Ava. But you can choose your world. And I did. The next morning, with swollen eyes and a heart that felt too old for my little body, I made a decision. If no one was going to come back for me, then I'd build a life so strong no one could ever leave me again. People always ask how foster kids turn out. Like we're some experiment. Like survival is a personality trait instead of a wound you learn to walk with. My story didn't start with brilliance. It started with necessity. The first foster home was calm, nothing like the horror stories people whisper about. The Bennetts were an older couple, quiet, gentle, tired in a kind way. They gave me chores, structure, and the space to breathe without being judged. Mrs. Bennett kept a garden behind the house, Tomatoes, lavender, mint. She used to say the earth listens better than people do. I didn't understand then, but I do now. At 13, I found Ms. Reynolds' bracelet again, the one she gave me years earlier. I had tucked it into a drawer, afraid it would break if I wore it. That day, I clasped it on my wrist. It felt like armor. High school wasn't easy. Kids aren't kind to the foster girl. But I studied like someone was chasing me because poverty was. Because loneliness was. Because the haunted look in my father's eyes the day he drove away told me exactly what my future would be if I didn't fight for something better. I spent nights working part-time at a diner on 16th Street, inhaling the smell of burnt coffee and cheap fries while doing homework between customers. My grades stayed high enough to get attention, and that's when I met Professor Elena Brooks. She was everything I wanted to be: confident, sharp, compassionate. A black woman who had carved her way to the top of the business department without losing her warmth. She noticed me scribbling business concepts in the margins of my worksheets. "You ever think of entrepreneurship, Ava?" she asked one afternoon, tapping her finger on my notebook. I shrugged. "People like me don't build companies." She smiled, slow, certain. "People like you are exactly the ones who do." That sentence, it changed everything. She became my mentor. Helped me apply for scholarships. Helped me choose the right internships. Helped me see myself not as a foster statistic, but as a storm waiting to form. By college, I had mastered the sound of quiet ambition, working 2 jobs, attending classes, and building a small online business in the cracks of my day. I designed digital marketing strategies for small boutiques. It wasn't glamorous, but it worked. Then came my first big break at 23. A wellness brand in California hired me for a full campaign. It went viral. Suddenly, word spread. Clients doubled, then tripled. I saved every dollar. I didn't post my wins. I didn't tell my father. He knew nothing about the woman I was becoming because he had given up the right to know. At 27, I launched AM Strategies, a boutique marketing agency. A year later, it wasn't boutique anymore. It was booming. Long nights, countless. Tears, more than I'll ever admit. Doubt, a constant, familiar companion. But every time I felt myself slipping, I touched Ms. Reynolds' silver bracelet. It reminded me, your world is yours to choose. And I chose one he would never expect. A world built without him, and strong enough to face him. I walked into St. John's Hospital with the calmness of a woman who had already survived her worst memories. The hallways smelled faintly of antiseptic and cheap coffee, 2 scents I associated with waiting rooms and broken families. A nurse guided me to a private room on the 4th floor. "Your father insisted," she said. "He said it had to be you." My father had insisted. Funny. He'd never insisted on me before. When the door opened, the sight hit me harder than I expected. Daniel Mitchell, once polished, charming, dripping in luxury, looked small. His skin had lost its glow, cheeks sunken, eyes dull. Tubes framed his body like a cage, and the heart monitor blinked in slow, tired rhythms. He looked older than his age. He looked mortal. And for a moment, I didn't know what to feel. "Ava," his voice cracked like it was made of old paper. "You came." I did. My voice was steady, cooler than I intended. He tried to smile, but guilt weighted it down. "I knew you'd become someone. I always knew you'd be okay." I let the silence settle, thick and uncomfortable. If he wanted forgiveness, he'd have to wade through the truth first. Before he could speak again, the door opened. 2 people stepped inside, a middle-aged man in an overpriced suit and a woman in designer heels. His business manager and second wife, I assumed. "Thank God," the manager said, relief flooding his face when he saw me. "You're here. We've been searching for you for days." Mr. Mitchell's estate. Well, it's complicated. Estate. Of course. This wasn't about love. This was about assets. The woman, a tall brunette with diamonds big enough to blind someone, crossed her arms with impatience. "He said you could fix things. That you're successful now." I raised a brow. "Successful how?" She sighed dramatically. "We expected you to be I don't know, a teacher? Or maybe working retail. Something humble. But he insisted you had connections and resources. Interesting. My father still hadn't told them who I really was. The manager cleared his throat. We're desperate. His company is collapsing. Investors are pulling out. He said you might be the only one willing to help. The irony cut sharper than any memory. My father, who once traded me for luxury, was now losing everything he abandoned me for. I stepped closer to the window, letting light fall across me. My father hasn't seen me in over 20 years, I said softly. So perhaps you should tell me exactly what he thinks I can do. The manager swallowed. He said, you own some marketing firm?
Some. Cute.
I reached into my bag and pulled out my business card, sleek, matte black, embossed gold lettering. Ava Mitchell, CEO and founder. AM Strategies Global, NYC, LA, London. I placed it on the bedside table. The room froze. The woman's jaw dropped.
Global.
The manager blinked like his brain had short-circuited. Why, you're that Ava Mitchell? Even my father's eyes widened with disbelief. Finally, the moment of truth. Yes, I said. I built a company from scratch. I run campaigns for corporations your husband used to beg for meetings with. I have the power to revive brands, redirect investments, repair reputations. I looked directly at my father.
And you?
You gave me nothing but a memory of taillights disappearing. His throat tightened. Ava, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
A word that arrived 20 years too late. The woman backed away a step. So, can you save the company? I let them sweat in silence for a few seconds. It felt earned. Then I spoke, voice calm but sharp enough to cut glass. I can. The question is, should I? Their faces collapsed in a choreography of panic. The power, finally, was mine. And it was terrifyingly, beautifully quiet inside me. The room fell silent in a way that felt almost sacred, like the universe itself was pausing to watch what I'd say next. For the first time in my life, the people who once looked down on me were looking up at me. My father tried to sit up, but his body betrayed him. He winced, and the heart monitor beeped faster. Ava, please, he whispered. I know I don't deserve anything from you. But the company, my life's work, it's slipping away. I walked closer, stopping at the foot of the bed. Your life's work? I asked quietly. I let that settle. It wasn't raising me. His eyes fluttered shut, shame carving deep lines into his face. I was selfish. I thought a better life would come easily. I thought you'd be fine. I wasn't fine, I said. Not for a long time. The woman in diamonds stepped forward, her voice cracking. Look, whatever happened between you two, can't you just help? Daniel's condition. I held up a hand. I'm not deciding out of anger. You don't need to worry about that. Relief flashed across her face. Too soon. I'm deciding out of truth. The manager cleared his throat. Truth. I nodded. If I help, there will be conditions. They all leaned forward, hungry, desperate, ready to agree to anything. But they had no idea what I was about to say. I turned to my father first. Condition 1, you get therapy. Real therapy. Not the kind you lie your way through. He blinked.
Hard. I can do that.
You'll attend every session. You'll address your abandonment issues, your shame, your choices. You will say my name in that room until it stops hurting you. My voice softened, just barely, and until it stops hurting me. A tear escaped down his cheek. I will, Ava. I believed he meant it. Whether he would follow through was another story. Next, I looked at Diamond Wife. She straightened, preparing to negotiate.
Mistake.
Condition 2, you get a job. Her jaw dropped. Excuse me? You heard me. A real job. No more floating through charity brunches and luxury events. You contribute. You stand on your own feet for once. Her face flushed. I've never worked before. Then it's long overdue. She opened her mouth to argue, but the manager gently touched her arm. Just agree. We need her. I turned to him next. Condition 3, You put every financial record on the table. No hiding debts, no altering reports, no shady deals. He stiffened. Why would you think? You've been mismanaging for years. I cut in. I can tell by how terrified you look. He swallowed. Fine. Finally, I returned to my father. Condition 4. You acknowledge me publicly. His eyes widened. You'll tell the board who I am. Not as a convenient savior. Not as a secret. As your daughter. He let out a trembling exhale. Ava, I should have done that a long time ago. Yes, I said. You should have. I let the air sit heavy again before finishing. And last, I don't rebuild this company for you. I rebuild it for the people who will lose their jobs if it collapses. Your employees deserve more than your mistakes. He nodded slowly. Whatever you say, I'll do it. The power shift was complete. Not loud, not dramatic, quiet, controlled, intentional. The kind of power that comes from surviving. For the first time in 20 years, my father wasn't the one choosing. I was. Change doesn't happen overnight, but sometimes it begins quietly, almost shyly. Over the next few weeks, I watched the conditions I'd set ripple through my father's world like a storm that demanded honesty. His company, once shiny on the outside and rotting on the inside, began to stabilize. Meetings were tense at first. People eyed me with a mix of curiosity and disbelief. The abandoned daughter returning as the unexpected savior. No one knew what to make of it. But they respected me. Not because I was Daniel Mitchell's daughter, but because I had earned every inch of the ground I stood on. My father attended therapy. I didn't expect dramatic breakthroughs, but his therapist sent me updates, small things. He spoke about Ava today. He admitted his fear today. He cried today. Crying isn't weakness. Sometimes it's the first crack in the armor that kept people from healing. His wife, Diamond Lady, got a job as a receptionist at a dental clinic. She complained at first, but after her first paycheck, she told me, almost shyly, it felt good to earn something. The manager cleaned up the books, confessed to cutting corners, and apologized. A real apology, not the political kind. People changed. Not perfectly, not magically, but honestly. And that was enough. One evening, after a long day of restructuring meetings, I visited my father's hospital room again. He was stronger now, sitting up, eyes clearer. Ava, he said softly when I walked in. I've been trying to think of the right thing to say. You don't have to, I replied. Just be real. His gaze dropped to my wrist. I followed his eyes to Ms. Reynolds' silver bracelet, the same one I'd kept all these years. The symbol of the woman who stepped in when he stepped out. The symbol of choosing my own world. She gave you that, didn't she? He whispered. Yes, I said. It reminded me I wasn't alone. He nodded slowly, guilt and gratitude mixing in his expression. I'm glad someone was there for you when I wasn't. It wasn't enough to erase the past, but it was enough to soften its edges. We sat there quietly, the sunset spilling gold across the room, warm, gentle, forgiving. For the first time, I didn't feel like the abandoned little girl on a porch watching taillights fade. I felt like the woman who built her own light. I stood, smoothing my blazer, ready to leave. He looked up at me. Ava, why did you help me? I paused, hand on the door. Because healing isn't about who hurt you, I said softly. It's about who you choose to be after. I walked out, my bracelet catching the last ribbon of sunlight, a small reminder that I had kept my promise to myself. I chose my world, and this time it chose me back.